Hello, strangers and strangelings. Welcome back to the Strange Bar and Grill. I'm serving up another true crime story time. Today's story has a twist ending that proves that things just aren't what they seem to be, and you might be surprised. So pull up a chair if you like strange true crime and storytelling, then this is the place to be. Here with me, JP, so kick back, grab a drink and a snack, and remember to always tip that like button. It helps with the channel. And join the SBG family by subscribing and hitting that notification bell to make sure you're getting notified when I release a weekly video. All right, let's go. Angela Diaz felt like the luckiest woman in the world. She had found the man of her dreams, and they were starting a family together. The couple met each other on a dating site in early 2016, and they quickly fell in love. They married soon after and moved in together in downtown Anaheim, California, a safe neighborhood that boasted great schools, a Disneyland resort just 5 minutes away. The 31-year-old mother-to-be soaked up the sun's warmth as she lay propped up against her husband, Ian Diaz. The soon-to-be mother began browsing through nursery styling guides on her phone. Suddenly, her internet browsing was interrupted by a Gmail notification. Then another, and another, and another. Soon her inbox was just flooded with a barrage of emails, all signed off with different variations of the same name, Michelle Hadley, her husband's ex. Angela was intrigued at first, but her curiosity quickly turned into concern. The messages were strange. The messages were filled with these weird biblical ramblings and threats of death and damnation. She thought maybe Michelle was just trying to scare her because she was with Ian now, but she was wrong. Michelle wasn't just seeking vengeance, she was out for blood. The Diazes thought Michelle had become unstable since her nasty breakup with Ian, resulting in a hatred for Angela. Before her story triggered a global media frenzy, Michelle Hadley was your average, everyday, all-American woman. She was born on December 20th, 1986 in Upland, California, to Michael and Susan Hadley. Her younger sister was born 3 years later, and then they moved to Ontario, California, while the girls were still young. And they lived a pretty modest, conservative lifestyle. They were devoted Christians. Michelle grew up to be a quiet, private person who was often found with her nose buried in a book. And she didn't really party. She didn't really get into trouble. She didn't really take risks. And she didn't like to be the center of attention. Michelle just did not have a criminal record. The only things Michelle broke were records. She was a teenage track star at Claremont High School, which earned her a scholarship to Dickinson College in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. She would graduate from the private liberal arts college in 2009 with a bachelor's degree and a ring on her finger. Michelle went on to marry her high school sweetheart at 22 years old. It was the only relationship that she had ever been in, and she couldn't imagine being with anyone else. Michelle worked hard. She paid her bills on time. She had an office with a window and came home to the love of her life. Everything was going great, but it just didn't last long. The couple married too young, and they would separate in 2013, just 4 years after their marriage. Although Michelle took their divorce in stride, she wasn't ready to jump into the dating world. Instead, she kept herself busy with work and sometimes would clock up to 70 to 75 hours a week. A workaholic. And during one of her coffee breaks at a Starbucks later that year, she met Ian Diaz, the silver-tongued 35-year-old deputy U.S. Marshal. He would break down her defenses with ease, and Michelle would cave in and give Ian her number. And after just 2 dates, Ian confessed his love for her. It didn't feel rushed. It felt normal and natural. It felt right. He was older, he was more experienced than she was, and he seemed to know what he wanted. By the spring of 2014, Ian and Michelle had moved in together. What was meant to be the start of something special turned out to be the beginning of the end. Ian's controlling nature began to emerge. Ian constantly hassled Michelle about being more sexy. He wanted her to wear these fake nails, wear crop tops, wear more makeup, and he wanted her to pierce her belly button. He just wanted control. Ian even convinced her to leave the job that she loved and to take a $20,000 pay cut for a marketing position at a nearby Disneyland resort where he used to work. She didn't realize it at first, but she just gave up her financial independence and she was also being monitored by Ian's ex-coworkers. Ian would surprise Michelle with a trip to New York for her 28th birthday in December of 2014. The city twinkled with thousands of Christmas lights, and the atmosphere was truly magical. One night, Ian took her to the Rockefeller Center for one last surprise. He got down on one knee under the iconic giant Christmas tree and asked Michelle to marry him. Swept off her feet by the romantic gesture, Michelle said yes. Once Ian had her locked down, he began pressuring his innocent, God-fearing fiancée to have sex with other women so that he could watch. A term called cuckolding. That's where a person is turned on by watching their partner get intimate with another person. Which is cool if that's what you're into, but it's only cool if both parties consent without coercion. But Ian would hound Michelle so much that she threatened to break up with him if he didn't stop. But he wouldn't take no for an answer. This was not Ian's style. And unfortunately, his persistence would pay off. On Valentine's Day in 2015, Michelle gave in to his demands. She was bullied. She was under the influence of cold medicine. She had several fireball shots. And she would ultimately end up having sex with a stranger that Ian found on Craigslist while he filmed. Michelle woke up the next morning sick with regret. She begged Ian to delete the video, but he refused. Ian was a scumbag and did not care one bit. Eventually, the couple bought a condo in downtown Anaheim, California 4 months later. The brand new 2-story apartment cost just under $470,000. They took out a mortgage together, but Michelle had to come up with the entire $14,400 down payment herself. She hoped that the condo would bring them together, which that never works. Like, nothing's ever gonna bring you closer together if you're not close already. Having a kid, buying a condo, it's just gonna complicate your life. Let's be honest here. But instead of bringing them together, it tore them apart. Ian's emotional abuse escalated, and the newlyweds began having nasty fights. He would lose himself in these angry rants and just go crazy on Michelle for hours. She tried to leave him at one point, but Ian would gaslight her and make her stay. Ian just sounds like a total piece of shit, let's be honest here. He made her quit her job, she's spying on her, he made her buy this house, he didn't even help with the down payment. Like, this dude's a scumbag. By August 2015, summer was nearing its end, and Michelle had worked up the courage to finally leave Ian. Good. She packed up as many of her possessions as possible into the trunk of her Volkswagen Jetta and escaped to her parents' house. Good for you, Michelle. Ian didn't take it too well. Ian would accuse her of cheating on him and took back her engagement ring. Although he continued to live in their condo, he didn't take over the repayments, and Michelle was forced to pay half the mortgage. This would cause an explosive year-long battle over the condo. Sick of Ian's selfishness, Michelle finally lost it. She sent him scathing emails filled with threats. One email sent on September 10th, 2015 read, "Your sins are many, including defiling me and my family with your wicked and evil sexual acts. Your financial coercion and irresponsibility, your glutton, your greed, your lust, your sloth, your wrath, your envy, and most of all, your pride. I will bring the full force of the law and the word of God against you to judge you." And shortly after sending those emails, Michelle noticed an SUV with no number plates, just like Ian's, following her around town. Fearing for her safety, she reported her abusive ex-fiancé to her job and Chapman University, where she had been pursuing a master's degree in business administration since 2014. She told them she was afraid of Ian, but only her school took her concerns seriously. Her job at Disneyland, obviously Ian used to work there, so they were on his side. The university security team banned Ian from campus grounds and notified him via email. This enraged Ian. He would file a counter complaint against Michelle and file a restraining order, but it was declined. They didn't take him serious. By the end of 2015, 1 year after their failed engagement, Ian and Michelle hired property lawyers to help them reach a financial agreement. Eventually, the pair agreed that by early June 2016, Ian would take over the mortgage payments. And if he couldn't afford to pay by then, they would sell the condo and split the money. It was finally over. She could finally move on or so she thought. Meanwhile, Ian was moving on in his own way. He wasted zero time and was jumping on dating websites. It didn't take long before he actually found someone. In January 2016, Ian met 31-year-old Angela Connell. Angela had dark hair and a beautiful smile, and Ian was smitten. They hit it off immediately. The pair got married 1 month later, and Angela moved into Ian's condo, the same one Michelle still partly owned. By May that year, 4 months after the couple had met, Ian and Angela Diaz were expecting twins. It wasn't long before Michelle found out. While Ian and Angela were celebrating their news, jealousy and resentment festered within Michelle. Ian had moved on, married, and gotten his new wife pregnant in a matter of months. The fact that Angela was now living in the condo that Michelle was working overtime to pay for was a slap in the face. She couldn't let it go and waged a war against her ex-fiance and his pregnant bride via email. Michelle began flooding Angela's inbox with these horrifying emails, and the torrent of emails flooding Angela's inbox made her fear for her future. Michelle's messages were laced with the same biblical threats similar to what she sent to Ian after their breakup. On May 29th, Angela received an email from Michelle that read, "I hope you're scared to death tomorrow. Be prepared, don't sleep, be watchful of the daughters of God. We will steal your child, and we will watch as it dies." The mother-to-be would try to ignore Michelle's relentless emails, but they were just getting darker and darker every day. She threatened to have Angela raped and murdered, and her unborn baby slaughtered in her womb. She attached morbid images of naked women being strangled, women being beaten, and others being groped by masked men. Soon, Michelle began including photos of aborted fetuses and decapitated bodies. Angela couldn't take it anymore, and she went to the police. And on June 1st, Angela Diaz filed a restraining order against Michelle Hadley with the Anaheim police. She accused Michelle of repeatedly threatening her life, her unborn children, and her marriage. Michelle had apparently created over 6 different email addresses just to harass Angela and slander her husband, Ian. The mother-to-be was forced to completely uproot her life. She deleted her online profiles, stopped leaving her home, and missed work at her new job. She also claimed that the constant fear of being attacked, raped, and murdered led to an emotional breakdown with severe consequences. Angela wept as she explained to the police that she had been pregnant in the spring before with twins, but miscarried due to the stress. It didn't matter how much she begged Ian's ex to leave her alone, Michelle's emails just continued to escalate and showed no signs of stopping. The police immediately became concerned. They recalled that Deputy U.S. Marshal Ian Diaz had filed a similar complaint against Michelle months earlier. A judge granted Angela's restraining order, and Michelle was served with it 5 days later. Angela felt as though she could finally stop looking over her shoulder. However, it quickly became apparent that the restraining order had done nothing but push Michelle to new levels of obsessive behavior. On June 21st, Angela began receiving emails responding to a Craigslist ad that she had never created, the senders of which were all eagerly agreeing to assault the soon-to-be mother of twins. Someone who the Diazes believed to be Michelle had made a Craigslist account under Angela's name and posted an ad pretending to be her that sought partners for a grape fantasy. And I know I'm using the word grape and that sounds ridiculous, but I'm using this word a lot, so try not to have the YouTube filters pick it up. The ad stated that Angela wanted someone to attack her while she was walking her dog, force her into her condo, and grape her while she struggled. It was incredibly thorough and included several personal details such as the breed of Angela's dog, her phone number, and the condo address. Paralyzed by fear, Angela stopped walking her dog and stayed inside. 3 days later, the police responded to a 911 call at the Diaz's condo in downtown Anaheim. Officers arrived at the scene to find Angela in hysterics. Someone had broken into their garage and tried to grape her, but she managed to fend the sicko off. The poor woman's neck was reddened, her shirt was torn, and her head had been slammed against the wall. Police took one look at Angela and decided her injuries were all the evidence they needed to arrest Michelle. That same night, Michelle was driving home from a date. As she neared her quiet cul-de-sac in Ontario, California, she noticed police in her driveway. Her heart dropped. The officers notified her of a warrant to search her phone, tablet, and laptop. Michelle handed over her devices. She didn't believe the police would find anything and she would be on her way, but that didn't happen. Instead, they accused Michelle of several sex crimes against Ian Diaz's pregnant wife. Michelle was handcuffed and taken off to jail, where she would spend the night. Angela enjoyed her first night of peace. The hostile emails had finally stopped, and she could just relax. However, that was short-lived. Michelle was released the following day after her parents paid her $10,000 bail, and Angela's inbox was overrun with those horrible emails again. To her horror, several of them were responses to newly created Craigslist ads where Michelle, posing as Angela, was begging to be great. Just over 2 weeks later, one responder made his move. Angela called the police on July 13th to report a prowler lurking outside their condo. Officers arrived and caught the creep, who turned out to be a 17-year-old boy. The kid explained that he was just responding to Angela's ad. He thought it was consensual. Angela was shaken, but Ian was pissed at this point. He demanded that his deranged ex be cuffed and locked away for good. The Anaheim police were quick to oblige. Michelle was arrested the next day while doing homework at her parents' offices. Her crimes were so disgusting that she was slapped with a bail of $1 million and faced life in prison. It made sense because if she wasn't arrested, they feared that Angela Diaz would eventually be raped and killed by one of these strangers off Craigslist. Michelle's parents couldn't afford to pay Michelle's bail this time. They could, however, scrape their savings together to get a good lawyer, although this meant that Michelle would have to stay in custody until her trial. News of her crimes would spread through the penitentiary like a venereal disease. Accused of sex crimes against a pregnant woman, Michelle was dubbed the worst of the worst and was persecuted by both her fellow inmates and the guards. She received death threats and was strip searched regularly and was confined to her cell 23 hours a day. Susan and Michael Hadley fully supported their daughter Michelle and were doing everything they could to clear her name. Surprisingly, it wasn't very difficult. It just took some basic investigative work, some very basic police work. Now, this is where things start to get weird. Michelle's parents pulled Michelle's school records to show that she was in class when some of the vicious emails were sent, and medical records that confirmed she was briefly hospitalized when suspected of sending other emails. Michael, Michelle's father, even downloaded a simple software that traced IP addresses to identify the locations and devices from which each email was sent. So it sounds like some basic police work here. He quickly found evidence proving that the malicious emails were not sent by his daughter, nor from her devices. Susan, Michelle's mother, diligently organized and filed his findings, removing any barriers to Michelle's exoneration. However, they never got a chance to actually hand in their evidence. On September 30th, 2016, Ian Diaz walked into the Anaheim Police Department and told the officers that Michelle Hadley was innocent and his wife Angela Diaz had framed her. Angela had been impersonating herself. It was Angela that sent the horrible, disgusting emails. She created all the grape fantasy ads and sent an innocent woman to prison for 3 long months. Ian claimed that he had the realization after uncovering several of his now estranged wife's other lies. One being the miscarriage she blamed on Michelle. Angela had been pregnant in the spring. However, she didn't have a miscarriage. She had an abortion. She was pregnant with a child when she met Ian and terminated the pregnancy because she didn't know who the father was. Ian was understanding at that time, but he couldn't forgive her next deception. Angela had lied to him about their unborn twins, fooling him using a faked pregnancy test and sonogram photos she bought on Etsy for $750. Ian never explained how he discovered Angela's deception, but the police didn't care. They had a serious problem on their hands. 1 week later, Orange County Deputy District Attorney Richard Zimmer visited Michelle Hadley in prison and broke the news of her wrongful conviction. Michelle was released while investigators started pointing their sights on Angela. Michelle was told to stay silent about the truth, even though the case and her mugshot had already made international headlines. Sounds like the police are on some straight bull right here. Sounds like they're trying to cover their butts. On January 6th, 2017, Angela Diaz was finally arrested, and the city's prosecutors portrayed her arrest as some kind of hard-earned victory by these devoted detectives who performed these cyber criminal investigative tasks to uncover the truth. But that couldn't be further from the truth, and they all knew it. Michelle's parents basically did all the police work, and I mean basic police work, and they proved her innocence with like a day's worth of research. And just 3 months after the DA's talk with Michelle about her being innocent, Michelle Hadley was publicly exonerated. That's after Michelle threatened to go public because the police did not want this to be out in the news. They didn't want to look bad. Because if she hadn't threatened to go public with their failures, her innocence might have been silenced and swept under the rug. Angela's arrest incited widespread public outrage over Michelle's wrongful conviction, and new details began to emerge. Anaheim police rushed to obtain a warrant to search Angela's devices, which should have been done before sending Michelle to prison in the first place. They discovered that Angela had routed the disgusting emails to herself using VPNs, third-party proxy servers, and 8 accounts she created under Michelle's name. Not only that, but after finally checking the Diaz's home security footage, they realized that no one had broken in and attacked Angela. So wow, it's almost like you should do a police investigation first before you arrest somebody. Interesting. But hey, what do I know? I'm just some guy on the internet. The more they looked into Angela, the more they uncovered. She lied about past employers, doctor's notes, faked income checks to pretend to be some kind of high roller, and lied about having a law degree. She even says she found Waldo and Carmen Sandiego at a Walmart in Florida. No, obviously I'm joking, so that was a joke. But she did fake cervical cancer to manipulate an ex-boyfriend and to letting her move into his home. Angela was just a damn pathological liar. And on October 17th, 2017, Angela Diaz pleaded guilty to 10 felony charges and 22 misdemeanors. Her charges ranged from making false reports to kidnapping, false imprisonment, and perjury. The world waited, and they were hoping to see her with this super harsh sentence. However, although Angela's actions almost sent Michelle Hadley to prison for life, she was only sentenced to a mere 5 years in prison as part of a plea bargain. Can you believe that? While Angela got a taste of her own medicine, Michelle began picking up the pieces of her life and reputation. She completed her MBA at Chapman University and landed a good job as a marketing specialist for a beauty company. However, her nightmare was far from over. The allegations against her lived on in the internet. A simple Google search of her name produced outdated articles from the time the world believed she was a disgusting sex criminal. Michelle fled from Orange County and moved in with her sister in New York. On December 20th, 2018, the day of Michelle's 32nd birthday, her attorneys filed a federal civil lawsuit against the city of Anaheim, the Anaheim police, and her ex-fiancé Ian Diaz. They accused the defendants of 15 violations of her rights, which included her false imprisonment and defamation. Michelle acknowledged that Angela played an active role in the plot to ruin her life. However, she was adamant that her abusive ex was the actual mastermind behind it. Ian had access to her biblical rants and email accounts, and it came out that he had hacked into her computer to spy on her online. Most importantly, he had a motive. Michelle believed that Ian was bitter, and after their breakup, Ian became hell-bent on making her suffer for leaving him. The dispute over the condo was the final straw. She alleged that Ian concocted the plan to frame her as an unhinged sexual predator and have her incarcerated, leaving him with the condo. Despite his obvious involvement, Ian was virtually untouched by the scandal that surrounded him. He was protected by the police, the press, and sexist stereotyping, basically. While the women were referred to by name and portrayed as crazy exes in this catfight over a love triangle gone wrong, his identity was protected. Ian was known only as John Doe, a moniker typically reserved for the victim of a crime. And to make matters worse, after snitching on his accomplice, Ian was never questioned by the police again. It was clear to Michelle and her attorneys that they were up against the blue wall of silence, an informal term used to describe the common problem of police officers covering up crimes committed by their own. They accused the Anaheim police of foregoing standard investigation protocols and ignoring glaring evidence to protect their brother-in-arms. To start with, when Michelle was initially arrested, she told police that Ian was abusive and may be impersonating her online. And instead of looking into it, they just dismissed her concerns and victim blamed her. They asked her why she didn't report him earlier. The detectives even ignored concrete evidence that proved Michelle was innocent. In late May of 2016, 1 week before Angela filed a restraining order against her, Michelle noticed strange activity on her accounts. Google alerted her that a Gmail address that she never even created had been shut down, and Microsoft notified her that her primary email address had been made the recovery contact for several new ones. Michelle knew that someone, likely Ian, was up to something sinister. She phoned the Anaheim Police Department 4 times to report him, but she never heard back. And that's not all. It came out that 3 days before Michelle's first arrest in June 2016, a search warrant showed that 21 of the threatening emails were sent from Ian and Angela's condo. But police arrested and jailed Michelle anyway. Over 2 years after taking them to court, Michelle Hadley won her federal lawsuit against the city of Anaheim and its police force on April 27, 2021. The city of Anaheim settled for an undisclosed amount. However, Michelle was not satisfied with money. She didn't want money. She wanted her toxic ex-fiance brought to justice. And on May 12, 2021, 43-year-old Ian Diaz was indicted for causing Michelle's incarceration. The evidence had proved beyond a reasonable doubt that Ian masterminded the plot to frame Michelle as a predator so that he and Angela could keep the condo. The disgraced deputy U.S. Marshal was slapped with a slew of charges, including cyberstalking, conspiracy to commit cyberstalking, and perjury. And at Ian's request, Angela created the fake online personas, sent herself these disgusting emails, and then created the grape fantasy ads that brought creeps to their home. And after Michelle was arrested, evidence also shows that Ian actually texted another Craigslist user the next day to lure him to their condo and further incriminate her. Ian covered his tracks by plotting with Angela over messaging apps and then canceling his cell phone service after posting several Craigslist ads himself. And he knew his conspiracy would likely unravel once Michelle went to court for the crimes they had accused her of, so he ended up throwing his wife to the wolves. Ian feigned innocence and turned Angela into the police before she had a chance to do the same. He made one mistake though. He underestimated Michelle's parents, Michael and Susan Hadley. On May 13th, 2021, Ian Diaz was arrested. Ian was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Finally, Michelle had won the justice she deserved. Well, kind of, because I don't think it's that fair that she was facing life and these two only got 5 years, and then Angela got 5 years and Ian got 10 years. To me, that's not the same. That's not the same justice. I feel like if you can ruin someone's life like that, then you should get life as well. But again, that's my opinion. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about this one. And if you're new to my channel and you made it this far, consider subscribing and joining that SBG family, because I got more strange true crime stories with twists and turns on my channel, and I got plenty more on the way. So leave a comment in the comment section or just say hi and I'll say hi back to you. But that's going to be it for today. And this is around Christmas time, so Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, and if I forgot something, because I know we have beautiful, amazing people watching from all over the world, let me know in the comment section if I forgot a celebration, or just say hi. Like I said, just say hi if you want to just talk, want to chat. Oh, and I started a Discord channel, server, whatever you call it. So go check that out as well. If you guys just want to go chat in there with me, or if you guys have story ideas, you can join that Discord server and you can message me and do all that fun stuff. And if you're just screw all that, I don't celebrate anything, I'm not joining Discord, that's fine too, man. Like, just have a great week and I'll see you next year. That's a dad joke. I tell horrible jokes. All right, guys. Anyway, be safe, be good.